There's been some chaos happening at From Software. I spoke about this one time recently, so I'm going to talk about it again because now we got an update. Okay, so in case you guys are unaware, there has been a little bit of a battle going on at From Software where the shareholders are trying to do a little bit of a hostile takeover of From Software. They believe that the CEO is not doing his job. They believe they essentially are trying to oust him, not out him. They're trying to oust him out of the chair as CEO. We got a article here from Kotaku. Shareholder battle over handling of Elden Ring fails to oust From Software majority owner's CEO. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join me every single day, 9 p.m. over on the main channel, where you can catch me live every single day, 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see every single one of you there. Now back to the main video. While Kadokawa's CEO has survived this round of voting, activist shareholder group Oasis Management has increased its stake in the company to 15.25%. They are trying to actually hostily take over this company, which is insane. So this particular group, Oasis Management, they do call themselves activist shareholders. And again, when I hear of shit like this is why I think to myself, like, I'm so glad Steam is private, because if they were public, they would have to deal with this. Do you guys know that the moment Steam were ever to go public, the activist shareholders would try to hostile take over the company at any given time? Like, easily, right? So anyway, they're trying to get rid of this guy for what they say is a failure to handle Elden Ring properly, because they believe that From Software essentially gave up a lot of their money that they could have kept themselves by essentially using Bandai Namco as a publisher. They view that as a waste of money, okay? So with all that being said, since they view it as a waste of money, they want to get rid of the CEO who doesn't want to rock the boat and essentially give up Bandai Namco. They don't want that relationship to exist, because they view it as it's money that could go into the pockets of the shareholders. That's literally what they said last time we covered this. So they ended up doing this vote, and by doing this vote, they failed. So let's go over it and let's see what's going on here, because this is crazy, man. So Takeshi Natsuno, the CEO of From Software's majority shareholder Kadokawa, has survived the proposed bid to oust him from the company. Oh, so they want to get rid of his ass completely. They don't want to, like, demote him or anything like that. They just want to completely oust him from the company. Has survived a proposed bid to oust him from the company by the activist shareholder group Oasis Management. Although Oasis Management is Kadokawa's largest shareholder, owning 15.25% stake in Elden Ring developers, majority shareholder, Kadokawa announced earlier today that the activist shareholders had failed to secure a majority vote for their proposal. As spotted by Reuters on June 23rd, Oasis Management had proposed that Kadokawa CEO Takeshi Natsuno be dismissed from the company on June 1st. Oasis Management shareholders stated in their proposal that Natsuno was markedly unsuitable to serve as a director of the company, all because they want more money. That's literally all because they want more money. So they view him as unsuitable just because they want more money. And again, it's because they don't like the idea of Bandai Namco being the publisher. They want From Software to be the publisher and the developer. They want From Software. They view From Software as being big enough, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I just want to kind of tell you what they view. They view From Software as being big enough to give up their relationship with other publishers and say they'll do all the publishing. They'll handle everything in-house, and that way they keep all the profits, and those profits go to the shareholders' pockets. That's what they want. They want them to stop using external sources completely. That's essentially what's going on. Now, Oasis also criticized what it called Kadokawa's quantity over quality strategy, stating that Kadokawa's numerous manga, anime, and video game releases in the past 5 years had weakened the company's intellectual properties. I don't know about that. From Software has only been getting more and more successful, so I don't know if you can argue that their properties have gotten weaker over time. I don't know if you can argue that. Likewise, maybe you can with Elden Ring Night Rain, because Elden Ring Night Rain didn't sell as well. But then again, Elden Ring Night Rain is like a roguelite spinoff, so not exactly like a mainline entry, I suppose. Even though I guess you could treat it as such, but realistically, it's just like a redone Elden Ring. I don't really view it as something mainline. Anyway, Oasis management proposal also directly mentioned Fromsoftware. Despite owning the global asset Fromsoftware, Kadokawa has not been able to achieve global publishing on its own, and this has not been sufficiently linked to the overall growth IP or IP monetization. The activist investor group had previously made the case for Fromsoftware self-publishing its games instead of relying on Bandai Namco. Under a simplified scenario analysis, if Fromsoftware were to produce another hit title comparable to Elden Ring, with sales exceeding 30 million units, the absence of self-publishing will once again result in substantial economic value being left with external publishing partners rather than Kadokawa shareholders, Oasis wrote in one of its earlier presentations. So this is the problem when something goes mainstream, right? When something goes mainstream, like Elden Ring, it brings in these kind of like parasites. Let's call them parasites, even though that may not be the best way to describe them. I'm going to call them parasites. When a video game like Elden Ring goes mainstream, like the From Software video games beforehand with Dark Souls and whatnot, and Demon Souls and Bloodborne, they were popular. They were popular, don't get me wrong, but they weren't mainstream. Like, going mainstream is Elden Ring, where you have a video game that sells over, what, 30, 40 million copies? That's when you go mainstream. That's when you could say, okay, this is well past just being popular. The moment they saw that, and the moment they saw From Software have that level of success, this is when these parasites came in, and they're like, yep, we want to get our claws in there, and we want to start changing things to the best of our ability. We want to do everything we can to change this so that it benefits us, but that it slowly but surely erodes all the goodwill and the, essentially just really the good relationship that they have with Bandai Namco and other publishers too. So yeah, I think maybe parasite is probably a good way to put it. They really are extremely parasitic when it comes to From Software, because they view this as a massive missed opportunity. They view this as, oh shit, we never thought this game was going to do 30 million units, because they weren't complaining about Bandai Namco before the game hit 30 million units, obviously. They weren't complaining about any of the publishing details then, but now all of a sudden Elden Ring surpasses 30, 40 million units, and now it's a problem. Now it's like, oh, damn, we need to get rid of these publishers. We need to do it ourselves. It's insane, bro. It really, really, really is insane. It's kind of like somebody who doesn't want to, contract out work. They'll be like, shit, I can, instead of paying $10,000 for a renovation, I'll just pay $1,000 and do it myself, even though I've never done it before. It's literally the same exact scenario. I can understand if you have experience, doing renovations yourself, then sure. But these people don't have experience publishing themselves. So it's the same exact scenario. They're like, yeah, I'll just do it myself. Have you ever done this before? They just think it's going to immediately work just because they want it to work. Like, bro, you're going to rock the boat. And this is why greed is the number one worst thing when it comes to these things going mainstream. Because when greed starts to enter the atmosphere, you end up having a situation where somebody comes in and says, yeah, we made a lot of money, but we could have made more. And the moment they start thinking like that, they start fucking up all the good things that have been in place. That is the reason why you got to those 30, 40 million units. They start fucking it all up because they think they could do better by keeping money in-house. That's what they think. So I think it's insane. I really do. It says today, Kadokawa released a notice titled, regarding changes in members of board, following the conclusion of the shareholders' vote on June 24th. As detailed in the notice, the majority of Kadokawa shareholders voted in favor of CEO Takeshi Natsuda's proposal and against Oasis Management's proposal. Fucking wrecked. Wrecked, you greedy fucks. That's good. Again, it's one thing if From Software believes they can do it and are ready to do it and have everything in place to actually do it. It's another thing for an outside company that's not even the actual company itself. They're just the fucking shareholder to come in here and be like, no, we want this change because we want more money in our pockets. We want to fuck with your business. We want to fuck with the way you do things because we want more money. You know? So what they're going to start doing now is they're going to start going for a hostile takeover. They are not going to stop. These kind of companies don't stop. They're going to buy more and more and more. They're going to keep investing more and more and more until they have a higher and higher stake so that their votes matter more and more and more until eventually it gets to the point where they could do a full takeover. And if that ever happens, boys, it's cooked. It's absolutely cooked, man. This is the worst part about dealing with public companies. This is the worst part. When you get greedy shareholders, especially when they consider themselves to be activists. I mean, they literally call themselves that. It's not like we're calling themselves that. They literally call themselves activist shareholders. The fuck? So it's gonna be cooked. Like, there are pros and cons to being a public company, obviously. This is definitely the con. This is a major, major con. So we'll see what ends up happening. Hold on. It says under Natsuno's proposal, Kadakawa has appointed Koji Okoro, former director of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, to board of its directors. At this time, it's unclear exactly what percentage of Kadakawa shareholders voted in favor of Natsuno's proposal. All right, we'll see. We'll see what ends up going on. However, Oasis management has been steadily increasing its stake in Kadakawa over the past year. Oasis increased its stake in Kadakawa to 11.85% in March, overtaking Sony Group's 11.01%. Then it decreased from 13.76% to 15.25%. While Oasis management was unsuccessful in ousting Natsuno this time, the rate at which they've continued to invest in Kadakawa will likely lead to an even tighter vote at the next general shareholders meeting in 2027. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to 20%. I would not be surprised. I know that's a lot. Like, that 5% jump is a lot, but I would not be surprised if they go that high before the next vote. Like, they're really trying here. They're trying to take this shit over hostilely. So anyway, that's basically it, boys. Insane story, but I just wanted to let you know about it and give you a follow-up to it because we talked about it the other day, so I just wanted to kind of go over it.